Oh, I'm sorry. I was rocking out. Welcome in. It's another edition of the Beats of the East podcast here on the Believe Podcast Network, and also coming at you on Willis Digital Media. I'm Corey Burton. Joining me is the voice of the Forest Rockets. It is Mr. Craig Ladd. What's up, Craig?
Corey, well, I'm glad to be back. Feeling better. This has been a
That's good. Those allergies are killing you, man.
I won't say deadly, but it's been a bad season for me in the allergies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, allergies are bad. They're no fun. I deal with that all the time. I've just kind of learned to live with it. So you know how it
Yeah,
goes, right?
it's mine are always there. It's just a matter of the severity.
Yeah, like yesterday for me, if we had to try to do a show, I would have been the sneezy dwarf. I would have been just sneezing all over the place. So glad I'm not, but glad I'm here. Glad we're with you for another edition of the Beast of the East podcast. Look right down below if you want to follow us on social media. If you want to hit that bell on YouTube, subscribe, get all that new content. We are on Facebook as well. You can find us at Positively Ole Miss, the home of the Palmcast. And then Craig and I will also share the feed as well. Of course, we are brought to you by betonline.ag. We are back and better than ever, and all eyes are on the gridiron as teams are back for another football season. And we got baseball playoffs coming up too. As always, BetOnline is your number one spot for all college and pro football action this season. That's right. I thought I said it wrong, but I didn't. With the new updated site and interface, even more odds, props, and contests, BetOnline continues to be the number one source for everything football. So head to the website. You can use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. But don't forget to use that promo code BELIEVE to receive that bonus. From football, basketball, boxing, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Personally, I'm a blackjack guy. Don't wait to take advantage of the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet all of your favorite sports. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. So, some interesting things here. We'll dive in. We'll be the beast of the AL and NL East. No. So here's some odds coming out for the playoffs. You have some odds on the AL wild card game. You can take the Yankees minus 117. You can take the Red Sox plus 107, and the over/under set to 8 runs. If you're feeling froggy about the NL wild card, Dodgers Cardinals. Cardinals are plus 189 on the money line. Dodgers are minus 207 on the money line, and the over/under is a combined 7.5 runs. You can also make future bets on who wins the AL and NL pennant. Right now, your favorite to win the NL pennant are the wild card Dodgers at plus 180, and the Houston Astros at plus 225 in the American League. And then the Dodgers are the favorite to win the World Series at plus 375. Any guess on where the Braves are?
Oh, sorry. Any guess what the Braves are? Uh,
Yeah.
I don't have one. I'm sorry. Just don't. I don't get into that stuff. I'm more.
You don't get into baseball, yeah. You're
No, no, no.
just a
I
football
get
guy.
into baseball.
Okay.
The odds part of it is, I
Yeah,
just yeah.
since BetOnline came on board as our sponsor, I've been kind of learning about some of this betting stuff. So I've never really known much about sports betting until just now. So I'm still learning too. And yes, the chat is alive and well. Welcome, Guy. 56K. I'm lagging, brother. I don't know what else to say. I don't know why I'm lagging, but whatever. Somebody picked up the phone line, but so we got a great show for you guys today. Lots of great things to talk about. I'm sure that Tennessee game, Craig, was something that you would enjoy talking about for sure.
No doubt, a shocker. That's all I have to say. Shocking. They were a 3-point underdog going into that game. That was the bet of the year so far. I mean, there was never any doubt. That was a snoozer if you bet on if you took Tennessee in the points.
Absolutely, man. It was crazy. It seemed like, we all kind of took Tennessee. I don't think any of us really ever bought Missouri, but to think that Tennessee would throw up a 62 burger is completely shocking to me. I mean, Tyon Evans broke that 92-yard run, and I was like, man, this is gonna be Route City here.
There were just gaping holes, Corey. That guys are 10 yards down the field before they're even touched. I don't even know if Evans was touched at all on that 92-yard run.
I don't know that he was touched all day long.
It was like I said. It was. I was amazed. Even you know uh, Lynn Keith Whitehead, who's not Leneath Whitehead, who's not seen the time of day. He even rushes for 70 something yards. It was just amazing. I was totally surprised by the way they just dominated that game.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it was from start to finish. Missouri never really had a chance. The defense got after it. The run game kind of took the momentum, and Hendon Hooker was 15 of 19 for 225 and 3 touchdowns, and he also had 80 yards on the ground as well. A super performance out of the quarterback. You knew he was the answer. I mean, had he, Craig, we didn't get a chance to talk about this last week, but had he stayed healthy against Florida, I don't know if they win that game, but man, it's interesting.
Yeah, he has really come into his own, Corey. He's looked better and better each week, and then last week he was terrific. Really had command of the offense, made great reads, if he continues to play this well, Tennessee is they're going to surprise some people, and who knows if they maybe 7 wins in there, maybe 8 wins in there. Who knows? I don't expect that to happen, but you never know. On paper, that Ole Miss game, I foresaw, oh man, they'll get killed in it. I'm not so sure now. That game's going to be in Knoxville, and I'm not so sure. Tennessee's going to use the same formula that Alabama did, and that's try to run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, and keep that offense off the field.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's that's the way to do it. I mean, apparently the goal is to stop them on fourth down with Alabama. Kiffin's going to go for it and be objective, but I really like Tennessee's game plan. I really like their aggressiveness, and I've said from Jump Street that Tennessee was going to be a lot better than everybody was giving them credit for, or lack thereof, I guess you should say. A lot of people are like, "Oh, Tennessee's going to finish last," and Vanderbilt's going to get it together. And boy, were they wrong. I misjudged Vanderbilt a little bit. I said they were going to finish second to last, but they might be the worst team in all of FBS, and maybe even FCS too. But you maybe even throw an FCS in there too. So Vanderbilt was awful. But Tennessee, I thought they'd be middle of the pack. I thought they would do well and have some games where you're very impressed, but they didn't quite pull out the victory. But man, at one point, I didn't think Tennessee could score 62 points in practice against air.
Well, I have to agree with you. I think too. I think I underestimated the problems that the speed of that offense brings. And I'm not necessarily talking about the speed of the players. I'm just talking about the speed of each play. It really throws your defense out of kilter. You don't have time to substitute. Missouri looked frazzled. They really did. They didn't look like they knew what they were doing on defense. They looked out of place. It's tiring. It's just battering. It's just one after the other, and it's tiring. They get so many plays off in such a little amount of time, and I just don't think that teams. It's obviously difficult to practice for to scheme against this and practice against this because of the amount of speed it is between each play, and I really thought that Missouri had problems with that.
They really did. I mean, Missouri had no answers. They couldn't figure out anything this past weekend. Are they a bad team? No, this is probably, a lot of people say, well, okay, Missouri sucks, right? I I don't think that they suck. That Missouri and Tennessee are built very similarly in this state. I just didn't think Tennessee. I didn't think they quite had it in them to win some of these games. Whereas Missouri won some of those games a year ago, and they went through some of these growing pains. But they're built very similar. They don't. Neither team has a ton of depth. Um, but losing Larry Roundtree has been proving to be a huge, devastating loss for Missouri, and that kind of put them behind the eight ball. And here comes Tennessee. You think, okay, they lose Eric Gray and Ty Chandler. Oh boy, they're in trouble. No, Tyron Evans is legit. Jabari Small is a great, solid piece there. And Hendon Hooker is the third piece in that rushing attack that just makes that whole offense work. And why they didn't have Hooker in there from the jump, I don't know. But you think if Hooker starts that game against Pitt, they probably win that one. If Hooker doesn't go down against Florida, they probably win that one. Now you're looking at a very, very interesting Tennessee or start to
The
Tennessee
key, I
season.
think, is this week is for Tennessee to handle success. Um, they
Yeah, and we will definitely get
Yeah,
to that more in
absolutely.
depth
I think that's a big key when they take on
against South
South Carolina
Carolina.
is to handle success. So one other thing too, a la Jeremy Pruitt, Drinkowitz fired his defensive line coach this
So are they
week.
going to be
So
using Wendy's bags to
yeah,
illegally
apparently. So
pay their
another
recruits? So
defensive line coach goes down mid-season, not even mid-season.
I feel like those guys are the scapegoat, man. That's like the worst one you can fire besides your O line coach, man. Like, fire the tight ends coach. You got to scapegoat somebody. Just do it, man. Um, so yes, Cassidy, how's it going? Welcome. Yes, my internet's messing up. I guess that's just something that just happens, right? But yeah, Guy, we're not ignoring the chat. We Ole Miss will definitely have to put a 5-man front up there to counter the run. We'll get to Ole Miss Tennessee when we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Tight end coach is a recruiter. Yeah, but you have recruiting guys on the staff, so you can kind of fill that. Tight ends I feel like aren't very difficult to coach in the grand scheme of it. But you have analysts sitting down there that could probably recruit just as well and are younger. So why not, right? The D line coach, not
I
anybody
was
can
going to
step
say,
in that
Corey,
role.
that game, the most ironic thing I saw was, in the Kentucky game after they beat Florida, there was a sign up, I saw "We want Bama."
Oh
Well,
boy,
in the Missouri game, I don't know if you saw this, but some student held up a sign "We want Vandy." So I thought
that
that
is
was that
hilarious.
was very
I
how ironic that
love
was.
that.
What a difference!
I love that. Yeah, that's great. But speaking of another blowout, it was apparently a weekend of blowouts. Georgia Auburn. That's this weekend. Georgia Arkansas. Arkansas comes in as the 8th ranked team. A lot of people are saying they're going to cover the spread, and I went ahead and picked Georgia just because I was going to pick Georgia until they didn't cover a spread. I was like, I just have a feeling they're gonna. I had one of those feelings that they're going to cover this thing. And here they come. They trot out there with Stetson Bennett, the mailman, and he delivers yet again. They didn't really honestly they didn't really ask him to do a whole lot. They just pounded him into submission. The first drive was a bad Holman Craig, 2 false starts in the first series, and then followed by a sack. And then what was it? 2-3 series later, they had the block punt for a touchdown. Deep in the end zone. It was just a disastrous start that they could never recover from. A lot of people are saying, and I'm going to ask you this, is it that Georgia is that good, or are we overselling Arkansas a little bit?
I thought we were overselling Arkansas. I told some friends on Saturday morning we were talking about all the great games, and they were talking about that Arkansas Georgia game, and I said, guys, I'm telling
Mm-hmm.
you this: Georgia will destroy Arkansas. I was right for one.
And they did.
I
And they
just was
did.
not. I thought Arkansas was vastly overrated to be going up against a team of Georgia's caliber, and it proved to be right. They just didn't have the horses to hang with
No.
Georgia.
No, they didn't. They didn't at all. They couldn't. They couldn't block Jalen. Well, Jalen Carter blocked 3 guys on a goal line package, so you got that. Jordan Davis. They had no answer for him. They had no answer for Nolan Smith or N'Kobe Dean again. I mean, those guys just went off. KJ Jefferson was uncomfortable all night. He was on the run. I mean, honestly, there's not much Arkansas can look at with this game and say, man, we did this really well. I mean, this was again, this was one of those, hey, we're not as close as we think we are, and we got to recruit a little bit better, and we got to continue to do our thing. Are they a good team? Yes, Arkansas is a great team, I think. I thought we were overselling them at this point. I didn't think they were ready to be in the top 10. Ole Miss should have been in that spot over Arkansas. I thought Ole Miss was more of a number 8 team than Arkansas was. I think Arkansas is about a 18 to 22 type team. We're really good. I mean, hell, they just come off two ass kickings of the state of Texas. That's never a bad thing. So, but yeah, they're averaging 4 points per game. They've only given up 3 points in their 2 top 10 matchups. That's freaking scary. They still haven't given up a touchdown. They gave up that field goal. They still haven't given up a touchdown. The starting unit, hasn't given up a touchdown, or they've really only given up 3 points, and that's just freaky. That's freaky good. I mean, that's like some of like the best defense. I mean, I was saying this to somebody, one of my friends, and I said this was the best Georgia defense I've ever seen. And the best defense I'd ever seen prior was 17. And then the best defense I'd ever seen prior to 2017 was 2002 with David Pollock and Boss Bailey and Tony Gilbert and, Tim Jennings and Sean Jones at the safety position, those guys. That defense was incredible.
Corey, you're too young to remember Irk Russell's Junkyard Dogs. So I'm
a little too young to yes. So, but I think this defense, even statistically, and even from what the little that I do know, it's all in legend, I guess, for the Junkyards. But this defense, just the speed and ferocity in which this team plays with.
Well, we talked about the beginning of the year when we were going over during the preseason that their front seven was just going to be terrific, and they have held serve and been better. I think been better than I expected, to be quite honest with you. I no way I thought that they would be this dominating. I thought they would be very, very good. Don't get me wrong, but to be only allowing 4 points a game is incredible, considering the schedule they played, and as you said, 2 top 10 teams. It's phenomenal, and you don't have to do a whole lot on defense. I mean, on offense, in order to win. If you're putting up those kind of numbers on defense.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And bully ball was alive and well. That was going to be the game plan. If you can be extremely successful running the ball, playing that drop 8 defense, you can really give it fits. If you can run the ball really well, and Georgia did that. And Georgia, they completed passes, they were patient, and they just kept feeding the rock, and they weren't at all panicked about, okay, we got to throw the ball, okay, we got to be on schedule. Like, you see a lot of these offensive coordinators that get in these traps where they feel like they have to throw the ball because it's on the schedule of plays that, okay, we got to throw the ball. Okay, I haven't thrown the ball in 4 plays. Okay, I got to throw the ball. Not Georgia. Not Georgia. They didn't need to. They just kept, okay. All right, McIntosh, get in. Okay. Zamir, okay, you got it. All right, James Cook, here you go. Okay, Stetson, you want to throw a pass? Okay, cool. All right, throw one short, Okay, cool. Zamir, you got the next 2 carries, And they just the offensive line just said, okay, you want to run the ball? Cool. Like, I felt like the offensive line, I felt like this was like their best day ever. Like, this was Christmas in I guess you could say October. Christmas in October for the Georgia offensive line, because anytime you tell offensive linemen that you're going to run block, they get really excited. So,
And two, I have
yeah.
to hand it to Bennett. He lost his starting job last year, in the age of the transfer portal, 99.9% of quarterbacks that lost their job, they'd be gone to another school. So I got to hand
Mm-hmm.
it for him for sticking around, and you know what? He does what he needs to do. They ask him to manage the game and don't beat us, and that's exactly what he did. He didn't have to do anything special.
Mm-mm.
Manage the game, don't beat us, don't turn the ball over, and it's exactly what he did.
Yeah, I mean, he just like I said, they call him the mailman. He delivers. You know, 2 weeks ago against South Carolina, they asked him to deliver some deep balls. Actually, that was JT. Against UAB, they asked him to deliver. He delivers 5 touchdown shots, 5 bombs. He went 5 for 5 with 5 bombs. Like he is. I feel like you could ship him up to Nashville and suit him up in a Vanderbilt uniform, and they would instantly be better. Like he just has some sort of it factor where he can just go out as physically, his physical talents are probably fifth on that depth chart of quarterbacks. Like you look at his physical talent, he ain't a better thrower than Brock Vandagriff or Carson Beck or JT Daniels or even the incoming recruit Gunnar Stockton. Okay. Uh, Obviously, he doesn't have the stature of any of those guys. He doesn't have the foot speed of any of those guys, although he can run really well. JT probably has the worst foot speed of that group. So he just has this moxie and this it factor about him that he's ultra competitive. He's going to do whatever he needs to do, and he's just gutsy, man. And that's what you need, and the guys rally around that. So we're in good hands with Stetson. We're in even better hands with JT, but we're in pretty good hands with Stetson. So if JT can't get this lat issue fixed, then we'll be okay with Stetson. Stetson is good enough. He can beat some of these teams, and again, with this defense playing insanely awesome, which is not going to last forever, so we better enjoy it while it does. It's going to be good. So, another matchup with Auburn. We'll talk about that here in a little while. We'll get to that. We'll get to the Tennessee South Carolina game as well. But Florida and Kentucky, man. I had Kentucky buried. Why? Because they have turnover issues. But here they come. They had a 2013 victory. Defense came through. The offense came through when they needed. It was very much one of those games where Florida goes up, and it's a very low scoring affair for a long time. But Kentucky, man, huge win. First time since 1986 that they have that they have beat Florida in Lexington. How insane is that? And this game was phenomenal.
It was. I was. It was a good ball game. I watched
And the
almost
blocked
the
field
entire
goal.
game, and
That's a highlight I could
yeah,
see on.
yeah,
I could watch that on loop.
yeah. Kentucky made plays when they had to make plays, and that included the end of the game. What was that? They had the ball first and goal at the 5 and couldn't punch it in. Florida did at the end of the game. So, they made plays when they had to make them. The fact, you talk about betting on stuff. I thought that was the bet of the day, was Kentucky getting 8 points at home against Florida. I thought that was way too much. I thought that was the bet of the game, bet of the week, and it proved to be right. I get it because of the stat you just said a while ago, but I just thought Kentucky. I think people have underestimated Kentucky and the talent that they have. When you can run the ball, Corey, it solves a lot of problems you have on offense. If
It
you've got
makes the play calling a lot
yeah,
easier.
that's right. If you've got a suspect quarterback, you can run the ball. I mean, that takes a lot of problems away, and they can run the football.
Yeah, play calls from 2nd and 5 and below are a lot easier
Absolutely.
than 2nd and 10. Of course, you're going to run into some 2nd and 10s. You're never going to completely avoid that, but if you can, that's called staying ahead of the chains. And if you can stay ahead of the chains, you have more of the playbook at your disposal. Like 2nd and 2 is a perfect shot play, and they're going to get those opportunities. But to me, what had concerned me coming into this game was Kentucky not being able to take care of the football. And so I think when they did, and they actually caused more havoc on Florida than they did on themselves. And like I said, that blocked field goal was something that kind of turned the tide for them a little bit. And then, of course, Chris Rodriguez doing what Chris Rodriguez does. And I was very impressed kind of with their game plan. They, they were very aggressive in what they did. But they put themselves in situations where they could be aggressive and not careless. And I think they hadn't put themselves in those situations prior to it. So, hats off. I think, what I said earlier and what I said last week on, especially on SEC After Dark, I was worried that Liam Cohen and his Kentucky offensive staff just couldn't quite figure out the 20-hour-a-week rule, and they just didn't have an identity. They didn't know what they wanted to do. They didn't know if they wanted to be a running team or a hybrid or a balanced team or somebody that's going to throw the ball a lot. Or, I don't think they knew really what they wanted to do. And they just seemed like they were trying out a bunch of things, and it was very clunky. Wandale Robinson was going to go off, but, everybody knows that. But outside of that, like Will Levis was a turnover machine. They just couldn't seem like they could find any footing. Well, they found some footing this past weekend, and I think they're starting to kind of move in that right direction. They just got to continue to do that.
Well, like I said, I was impressed by Kentucky. I can also, I think back to how they struggled against Chattanooga, and had to pull that one out at the end, and really didn't play very well against South Carolina, really let South Carolina hang in there. But I still thought that Kentucky could win that game and thought they would win that game. Basically just because of, again, I'm just not sold on Florida as far as their offense goes, or their defense. They just don't have the horses that they have had in the past. And again, we didn't see Robinson again, and I think until you see him again, their offense is going to be vanilla, for the lack of a better term.
Yeah, AR-15 is the
Yes.
apropos nickname for him, but yeah, they're just so inconsistent. Like they're they're on the high of taking Bama to the brink of victory and getting some momentum. It seems like they're kind of a front-running team. They're playing at home, everything's going great. Yeah, they're gonna play really well, but on the road, things get tough. They get a blocked field goal. All of a sudden, their defense can't function and can't stop the run. And their offense just completely disappears. After I thought they got off to a pretty good start, and then they just disappeared. They just wilted away, and this is going to be kind of like I see this being kind of a Jekyll and Hyde type team where they're really good at home, but you get them on the road, and it might be all she wrote. Speaking of allergies, my allergies are kicking my ass too. But yeah, Positively Ole Miss says Georgia is Bama 2015 with a better defense and no Amari. Well, we had an Amari Cooper, but he has a torn ACL. So
yes.
And I was 10 with the Junkyard Dogs. No, I was not 10 with the Junkyard Dogs. When I was 10 years old, Ray Goff was the head coach, and some guy named Terrell Davis and Eric Desire were in the backfield for the Bulldogs. And I don't remember most of that. I really wasn't watching college football like that. I was outside mimicking college football, but I didn't know who was who and what was what at that point. I was still trying to figure it out. A lot of people say they did, but I was out there playing it and doing it imaginary stuff. So, and watching my cartoons on Saturday morning and not really caring about what was on the TV and just going out and getting my clothes dirty. I saw Cassius Ware nearly kill Eric Zaire. You probably saw a lot of people nearly kill Eric Zaire while he was at Georgia because he wasn't very well protected. Is what I gather. So, but yeah, so huge win for Kentucky, and as we put a bow on week 4, I want to give a shout out to the Michigan Wolverines. They're 5-0. Somehow Oklahoma remains 5-0. I don't get that. Big shout out to Stanford upsetting Oregon this weekend. And, big shout out to Auburn for finally winning on the road at night in Death Valley. That will be probably talked about tomorrow with Jake and Kevin on Best of the West, and we'll probably touch on that too on SEC After Dark. So make sure you tune into those two shows as well. Upsets over Vandy and Oregon in the same season. Yes, that upset over Vandy was that's going to be the extension. That's going to be the contract piece for David Shaw. But South Carolina getting a win over Troy 23-14 as well. Anything else? And Cincinnati, holy cow, are they a playoff team or what?
That was impressive. Didn't break my heart to see them crush Notre Dame by any stretch.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, man. I think with the way this season is going, why not? Like, there ain't gonna be anybody from the ACC going. I can't. It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe that Oklahoma is going to get past Texas this weekend. I think Texas might slip up and get them.
I agree with you.
So
I agree with you.
With me saying that, now you should go put all your money on Oklahoma. So
I agree.
Just do the opposite, right? When it comes to if you're doing betting, do the opposite. So and they absolutely would be a 3 seed right now. Oregon ain't getting in. Nobody from the Pac-12 is getting in. I don't think Ohio State's going to get in. Michigan, if they continue to run the table, will probably get in.
But
maybe. Iowa definitely not. I don't know. I don't know who's going to get in. This will be interesting. But I saw a comment down the list there. Cassie, I didn't forget about you. Let's just hope. Let's talk about for how much of what to make really of Urban Meyer, his weekend shenanigans before we get into week 5, talking about going around the NFL and being the beast of the, I guess you call it the AFC South, of the AFC South. Go. What do you make of this whole Urban Meyer situation?
Not very smart, to say the least. Not very smart to be caught in that situation. And this day and age, if you are a celebrity, you got to be extremely careful about what you do, because everyone has a camera. You do anything remotely out of the norm, and it's going on social media, and that's what happened to him.
Oh yeah, I mean, people are dying to put your face on social media. I mean, Craig, you and I could probably go out and nobody would know the difference. But if you're Urban Meyer and you've had national championships at 2 different stops in college, at major college football programs, and you go back to one of those towns, you don't think that people have their little phones out going,
yep.
Oh, it's Urban Meyer.
And you're at the restaurant that you own that has your name.
Yeah, and some little college girl is dancing in your lap. What do you think happened? What? Like, do you think that's where it stopped? Honestly, they're both drunk. Do you think that's where that stopped? Probably not. And he would be buried 6 feet of the ground if I was his wife, says Cassidy. Yes. So what do you think? So Cassidy, what do you think Shelly Meyer's thinking right now? Like, what do you like? This is a national story, and you can't get away from it. I'm sure they talked about I don't watch the Today Show, but I'm sure they talked about it even on the Today Show about Urban Meyer. Prowling.
Our health problems in the offense.
He's on. Yes, he's going to have a heart attack for multiple reasons. That young blonde's going to give him a lot of heart attacks. His liver might go out now, considering how hammered he was. So it's crazy, man. Like, Yeah, Urban Meyer. What a clown show. He's probably he might be one of the skeeziest people I've ever seen. Like he's got to be right to do
Yeah,
this.
well, again, you just can't afford to be a part of anything remotely controversial nowadays, because if you are, it's going to be twisted either one way or another, and either way, you're going to look bad. Period.
Yeah, there's no good way to spin if you're
No.
a married guy, some blonde dancing in your lap and your hand looks like it's underneath. Like there was some more. It looked like there was more going on there than just she just happened to be dancing on him and there was some out of context picture. There ain't no way. Like how comfortable he was with that. A that probably wasn't the first time that ever happened. There's a lot to be gathered from that, and so I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. Thought maybe you would, you and your buddy Urban would, maybe you could talk about him, a little bit. So, um,
No urban fan
yeah,
here.
no, we ain't perfect with that. Yeah, they, yeah, we ain't perfect, but yes, no, that is not right. Yeah, we all make mistakes. That's not a mistake. What he did, what that looked, that was not a mistake. That was not a. If you're that comfortable and and you're very much aware of your popularity and you're still like no matter how drunk you are, there's always that voice deep inside your head saying, "Nope, can't do that. Eject. You know, get away." Come on now. Yeah, no, that's not right. He ain't wired the same. Just look at how he recruited his Florida teams. Just you know, convict after convict, literal convicts. But anyway, I digress. Let's talk week 6. Speaking of Urban Meyer, the Gators have a tough one lined up. They kick off against Vanderbilt. Florida is 38-point favorites at home. Anything of note in this game? This is a get well game for Florida.
You're exactly right. Uh, Anything of note? I lay the 38. How's that?
There you go. Lay the
Yeah, I
points. Yeah,
lay the
I mean you got to.
38
Of
because
course, they've had
that's
trouble.
bad.
They've had trouble they've had trouble covering against South Florida, who was bad. But is Vanderbilt a whole new level of pathetic?
I, you know, I I think they're going to struggle to score any points. Period. Corey, if they
That is
score more than 2 touchdowns, I'll be surprised.
watch Vanderbilt. So if Vanderbilt somehow scores 2 touchdowns, do you think Grantham gets fired on the sideline?
I
No, they're gonna
don't think.
deload. That's what
Yeah, it's exactly. There you
they're gonna
go. Good point. The
gonna
D
fire
line coach is
coach.
gone.
That's right. So speaking of Mullen, I forgot to ask you about the comment. Did you hear what he said when he was asked if he felt like he was out coached? He said, "Yeah, we got 380 yards of offense and they only got 240 211. Are you kidding me?" Like he acted like that was like the end all be all. That's like saying, "Yeah, they may have won the war, but we won the battle." Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember you
It just
getting any
yeah,
points for
those comments.
outgaining your opponent. Did
Yeah.
they change that this year? I missed something.
They might, I think we both missed it then. Probably. Yeah. He always does that. Yeah. Doesn't make it any less annoying. Yeah, they scored in the third quarter. Yeah, he's just a and Steve, I saw your tweet earlier about the whole Mississippi State Ole Miss thing with and tying in Dan Mullen and Georgia. Mullen and Kirby hate each other. Hate each other. So, yes. Is this going to be the Steve Willis voice of God coming
It
in?
might be. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. Here we go. Now, don't put yourself on camera because it's got to be voice of God.
Yeah, I'm fine. What you
Do
got?
it. So the tweet you sent out about the Ole Miss Mississippi State rivalry and the whole Dan Mullen thing and how Georgia Florida's turning into that. I thought
Yeah,
that was interesting.
yeah. Way back when Dan Mullen got hired at Mississippi State and he coached in 2009 and he defeated Houston Nutt, it kind of launched early on,
Yeah.
and it became so toxic and basically it was so grievance driven. Like they feed on inferiority complexes and people react off of that. And that just resulted in it getting worse and worse and worse. And literally by 2016 and 2017, when Ole Miss went to the Sugar Bowl, that was it. It was time to write books about what was going on. It was time to try and piggyback on a ULL investigation to get information and do what you have to do. And it just became really underhanded. And honestly, that's why Dan Mullen got out of there.
Yeah, I don't blame him on that. But yeah, he seems like a very, very petty person. And Kirby just loves just rubbing it in, and Kirby just loves beating him. So you know Kirby is not nothing. He doesn't leave pettiness to the wayside.
Yeah, I would look out
Kirby can
and
be pretty petty.
I would pay attention to see if there were billboards start going up or something like that to try and one up the other person reacting, and you'll know that it is going down that road because it's definitely going down that road, and I think the Florida fan base is taking on his personality.
They are, and it's pretty funny. So hopefully they give him a lifetime extension and I hope they give Grantham a lifetime extension as defensive coordinator. That'd be great. So, but they take on Vanderbilt. This is a very very much a get well game for them, or Vandy could cover. Who knows? They have trouble covering, but. Tennessee, South Carolina, chance for Tennessee to get 2 in a row, Craig. Do
Yeah,
they, we asked this question earlier, do
yeah.
they manage success? Can they handle a little bit of success?
That's going to be the $64,000 question, Corey. Whether or not they can handle the success of that huge win against South Carolina, or can they be humble and continue to improve? Those are all things that Heupel has had to battle with, and will battle with this week. Little, it scares me a little bit just because of the fact that they're, you know, they 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 were the king of the hill, for the lack of a better term, this week with their showing against Missouri. Sort of worries me a little bit that they will not be as grounded as they should be against South Carolina. With that being said, though, I think Tennessee has better talent than South Carolina, and you know I think they will end up winning that ball game by like 14 points. I think at least 14.
Well, the spread is minus 10.5. So if you're a betting man, you may want to lay the points there as well. I've been really impressed with this Tennessee team, and this is probably the most I've ever talked good about Tennessee. So maybe I should shut up. Is Tennessee wearing black against Ole Miss or South Carolina? Probably against South Carolina, so they get that W. But no, I think it's Tennessee, if they can continue to run the ball. I mean, Georgia has shown, and other teams have shown that the blueprint to beat the South Carolina defense is to run the ball, and running the ball sets up deep shots, which South Carolina is also susceptible to. So if Hendon Hooker can prove a big time threat in the run game himself, that can never hurt. I mean, it gives you an extra blocker, it gives you an extra somebody you have to defend. OU Texas is this weekend. Yeah, that's I guess we could consider that a SEC game. So we'll talk about that here in a minute too. But for Tennessee, yeah, just continue doing what you're doing. Feed Tyon Evans, find some deep shots, and defensively, it shouldn't be if you shut down Josh Van and you limit Kevin Harris's impact. I think that you can put pressure on Luke Doty and you can get some of these sacks, and maybe you can force him into some bad throws and some tough situations, and play field position, and just come out and
You
get it.
talked about the black jerseys. Do you know who introduced the black jerseys?
Dooley.
Incorrect. Lane Kiffin is correct up there.
Kiff dog.
Yeah,
There you
against
go.
South Carolina. It was I think it was on Halloween night. They played South Carolina. Came out in the
It
black.
was. I remember
Yeah,
that
they boat
because they
raced
still had
South Carolina.
they still had Eric Berry too, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Ontario hardest.
South Carolina. So
It was a big win because South Carolina was decent right there.
yes, they were.
They were starting their 3-year run of winning 11 games a year. They were getting ready to start that run, so that was kind of like one of those South Carolina teams that they had in the early 2000s. But I would like to see them bring back those black jerseys. I like black jerseys. I like black uniforms. I think they look slick. I like when Georgia wears their black. They wear it very rarely. It's like a treat. Georgia takes on Auburn this weekend. They go to the Plains. This is a very, on paper, this is, Georgia's 14.5-point favorites on paper, but, Jordan Air Stadium does weird things to Georgia. As a Georgia fan, I'm always nervous. The last time we went down, because you can see all this Georgia stuff in the back. I got a degree hanging up on this wall. I can show you guys in a little bit. That tells you I can say we. But the last time Georgia went down there they're presumed the number one team in the country. But last time they went down there highly ranked, they got their tails kicked. And that was the year. That was 2017, where they got revenge later on. But that was probably one of Jake Fromm's worst games. They just couldn't do anything right. They kept turning the ball over. Field position was a nightmare. They couldn't, they couldn't stop Kerryon Johnson. I mean, it was a brutal game. But that was a November game. That was a late game. Auburn's usually a lot better, or at least under Gus Malzahn. They usually, you didn't want to play them in November. You wanted to play them if you wanted to get Auburn, you got in September. And I don't know what this Auburn team is going to be like. Bo Nix is kind of all over the place. They haven't run the ball as well as I thought they were going to. But they played really well against LSU. Came back and won. Bo Nix did some things that you just sat back and said, wow, really? But what do you think of this game? Is it going to be another Georgia rout? Do I need to buy into the fact that Jordan Air Stadium is a factor in this matchup?
I think it will be a factor in this matchup, Corey. I think they're going to early on. Auburn.
It's the 2:30 CBS game, Cassidy.
Yeah. Auburn is going to be really hyped. So Georgia's going to have to withstand the early flood of emotions from Auburn and all of that. But I think that in the end, I think Georgia will end up covering the spread on this and winning the ball game. Now, I don't think it's going to be 37-0 by any stretch. This will be a little closer, and probably I think at the end they maybe pull away a little bit. I think this game has a possibility of being a touchdown to 10-point game throughout the game. But I think in the end, Georgia pulls it out fourth quarter.
Yeah,
and covers the spread.
Yeah, I kind of see that. I think it should be a 10-point game for a long time. I think Georgia's going to jump out early. Auburn's going to kind of get into it in the second quarter. Georgia hadn't been very, very good in the second quarter. That was Vandy's best quarter in that game. Arkansas started to get a little footing, maybe a little bit, not much. But, for Auburn, it's going to be, we say this every week. I sound like a broken record. It's going to come down to the quarterback position. Does Bo Nix still have that magic left in him? Is he reinvigorated, or was that just a special occasion and he's going to go back to being bad Bo, and they're going to have to bring in TJ Finley? And I think if they have to make a quarterback change, it ain't going to bode well for him. If they have to make a quarterback change mid-game, it very well could be a 42-7 type ball game. Georgia's not going to give you much. They're not going to give you any wiggle room. So if you're going to struggle at the quarterback position, it's going to be a long day for you. And Auburn, they still have that lucky horseshoe. It's jammed squarely, where. And I think that Georgia's going to have to surgically remove that thing, and they very well possibly could. This game could be, this game could be very well be a 48-45-7 game, or it could be a 27-24 game where Georgia has to get a big fourth down stop like they did 2 years ago, when the last time it was in Auburn. Yeah, in 2019 they had to. I think Georgia got up by 21 points, and then they ended up having to get a big stop on fourth down because Auburn came roaring back in the second half. So you never know what's going to happen in this game. Yeah, Jordan Davis will rip it out. And so,
well, I'll say this: I think Tank Bigbie will be a key to this ball game. I think if he's able to run the football, I think Auburn stays in this game, throughout. But if Georgia's able to make Auburn one-dimensional and everything is falling on Nix's shoulders, that's disastrous. It could end up being ugly.
And that's got to be the game plan for Georgia. Like, commit to the run and make Nix beat you. Commit to the run, play press coverage because you got guys that can do it, like Keely Ringo. Tyke Smith is back. Those guys can play the tight coverage. Darian Kendrick, another guy that's been playing really well at the cornerback position. They can play tight coverage. They've gotten a lot better at that. So load it up, man. Stop the run. Hit Bigsby in the mouth. Make it tough for him. Put it on Bo Nix's shoulders. And if he beats you, so be it. It's going to take another magical performance for him to do it. And I don't think he has it 2 weeks in a row. But that doesn't mean I'm not nervous about this. They do have to score 30 to beat Georgia. Like I said, the biggest key to me is the atmosphere. Like, Auburn, Alabama is a very, very, very strange place. Very strange place to play. And so this game is by far, everybody on paper, Georgia's going to route it. But they ain't playing on paper. And Kirby and Bobo, they have a history. So, but like I said, you'll hear our picks on that. Craig, I'll read your picks on SEC After Dark. So I'll give you some time to think about that. North Texas, Missouri, not much to do about that one. LSU travels to the Grocery Bag to take on Kentucky. Can Kentucky repeat their performance? Can they continue to get a little bit better? After watching them play, I think they can. They showed me that they're heading in the right direction. This was a bit of a crossroads for them this past weekend. I think they chose the right path. I think they're starting to find their identity. I think they're starting to find themselves a little bit, find a little rhythm. When you take care of the ball, good things happen, right? So they're slowly but surely fixing that issue. So, do you think LSU's in a downward spiral? Do you think Kentucky's defense is going to give LSU's offense fits? How do you see this game shaking out?
I'll say this before I talk about the game. If this game, let's say Kentucky really hammers LSU, I seriously think that there's a possibility that they make a move midweek and Coach O is gone.
Yeah,
because they've got Florida after that, and then they go to Ole Miss after that. So I seriously think that's that is a distinct possibility.
And then
then Bama. So I mean, things are not. You lose at Kentucky, things are not going to get. Arkansas too. Then things are not getting any better. And if you've lost the team, yeah, if you've lost a team, you get hammered by Kentucky, then to me, I think he's in serious jeopardy of losing his job right there.
Well, you fire him knowing that you don't really have a guy on staff that you feel good about taking over.
Well, I mean, I don't know if they feel that way or not. I don't know. At some point, you got to, you've got to get rid of what you consider a problem, and you got to get rid of someone that you don't think is the future of your program. Let's face it, since they won the national championship, they've not done a whole lot, to be quite honest. What about Gene Chizik? Look what happened to him at Auburn.
Yeah.
And to me, has some similarities between Chizik's time at Auburn and Coach O's time here at LSU. They've not parlayed off of that national championship whatsoever.
No, they've actually gone backwards.
Yeah, that's exactly. You took the words right out of my mouth. They've gone backwards. They are not, at this point, they're not the team. If you look at it now, even though Texas A&M is underwhelmed this year, but at best, you're fourth in the West right now.
At very best, I don't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't consider them the fourth best team in the West. I mean, I think when you look at, you look at Alabama, Ole Miss, Arkansas, Auburn, possibly Mississippi State, which, I mean, granted they beat them, but I don't think they beat them again if you did a series. Are they better than Texas A&M? Well, maybe right now. But overall, no, I don't think they're better than Texas A&M. Do I think they're last in the West? I don't know. It's getting pretty bad down there. So Coach O is on the rocks, and I think that Kentucky could finish him off. I would love to see if what would happen if Kentucky could win. I'm definitely rooting for Kentucky in this one. I think I really like what they're doing. I really like what Mark Stoops has done with that program. When he took that thing over, man, it was about as much in the tank as you could possibly get. And they are they're a viable competitive team. They went from 2-10 as being the norm, and everybody just saying hurry up and wait for basketball to okay, we play football too, apparently. And so I've been really impressed with Kentucky. And to be honest, I don't think LSU has an answer for Wandell Robinson. And I don't think that they can really stop Chris Rodriguez. I mean, they've struggled against the run all season. And they are going to struggle again against the run, I think. And I think when you look at – I think probably 17 times there. But when you look at the way this team is comprised, they run the ball really well with Kavosiey Smoke and Chris Rodriguez. That's going to be trouble for LSU. Wandell Robinson's going to be trouble for LSU. And this defense – I don't think LSU really wants a piece of this Kentucky defense. So they're going in the tank and they're hustling backwards and they're hustling.
Think about this. When was the last time sofas were burned for a Kentucky football win? That's reserved for the basketball team. I can't ever remember any.
Mm-hmm.
They were burning sofas after the win. That's always a good sign for your football program if the rowdy students afterwards are burning sofas.
Yeah, I thought that was a West Virginia tradition, but I guess Kentucky decided to adopt that one as well.
Well, West Virginia, Kentucky, they're right there.
Absolutely. Well, last and maybe certainly least, or maybe not least, I don't know, however you want to look at it. It is currently a Big 12 matchup, but in the future it will be an SEC matchup. The Red River Shootout. And I don't care what you say, I'm not calling it the Red River Rivalry. That just sounds lame. I feel lame saying that. So the Red River Shootout. Oklahoma is 5-0. They're top 10. But are they really a top 10 team? That remains to be seen. We will see that against Texas. Texas comes in Texas coming in off of what I thought was a pretty good win over TCU on the road. TCU, you can say what you want to about them, and they're this whole Big 12 conference is a complete roller coaster. Positively Ole Miss says hook 'em. I think you're right.
I agree.
I am not a Spencer Rattler believer. I buy no stock in Spencer Rattler. I think OU is that they're just hanging on by a thread.
I don't think they have
Texas
covered
comes by with the
a
scissors.
point spread all year. Oklahoma.
No, they haven't. And they looked miserable against West Virginia. West Virginia is not a very good football team. They're mediocre. They're average, I guess you could say. They're pretty good. When Neil Brown took over, they were pretty bad. They were a team that you would have been better off putting nobody on defense. You would have been better off playing the air defense. And Neil Brown's done a pretty decent job of building that program back up to where they're actually playing some viable defense, but they're still not anywhere where they should be. And they almost beat Oklahoma. They outplayed Oklahoma. They should have beat Oklahoma. They just couldn't finish the game. Clemson and Oklahoma are 0-8 against the spread. Yeah, Clemson having a 15-point spread on anybody is absurd. BC covered that spread. That was also easy money. I wish I'd have taken it, but BC plus whatever they were getting was such easy money because DJ Ongulale, I think Georgia broke him. I'm convinced. Georgia broke him. He hadn't been the same since. Like they broke him. But Spencer Rattler, I'm not a believer in Spencer Rattler. Craig, I think we agree. Ole Miss definitely broke Tulane. I think we definitely agree that we really like the Longhorns here. I think they're going. I think they're going to slip up and get them. I mean, I picked Texas as my dark horse
I do too.
in the Big 12. They're a really good, well-constructed football team. I like Colin Thompson. I really like Bijan Robinson. I just think they play extremely hard on defense. They're creative with their play calls, and they're just you look at statistics, and it may or may not jump off the page at you, but you watch them play, they certainly pass the eye test for sure.
Yeah, I think Texas not only covers the spread, but they win this football game. I think they're on an upward climb. I think since the Arkansas defeat, they've played much better. And I'm like you. I don't see that from Oklahoma. They're treading water, basically. I'm not seeing anything that tells me out of Spencer Rattler that they're going to be any better. I'm just not seeing it from him. I don't know at what point Lincoln Riley decides to go with another quarterback. Maybe it's going to take a loss. Obviously, it's kind of hard to change quarterbacks if you're undefeated. But that could be if they're getting popped a little bit in this ball game, he may make the move.
And he probably should, because do I think Lincoln Riley's a bad coach? No, absolutely not. Lincoln Riley is one of the best top coaches in college football, but he's got a limit right now, quarterback, and I think a change is in the offing, perhaps. And I think Texas is going to force that, and I think Texas is a lot better than people were giving them credit for, and this was one of the things where Texas can prove that Arkansas is actually a team that deserved to be ranked not quite in the top 10, but not in the 20s either. And they're going to prove that Arkansas was a really good team after the butt whooping Arkansas put on them. But I think they're going to turn around and they could possibly lay a butt whooping on Oklahoma. Like Oklahoma just doesn't. I don't know what it is about them. They're 5-0, and people think they're going to be a playoff team. I just don't see it. I don't see it, not at all. And I don't see a victory in Jerry's World either, or the Cotton Bowl, or wherever they still play this game.
I really like Bijan Robinson. I think he's one of the top running backs in college football. He is special.
He's one of my
He
favorites.
is, man. He can cut on the dime. He can really, really. He's very shifty. And
He's a physical
yeah,
runner too. Like
watch
he
this game.
finishes
Yeah,
runs.
yeah. Watch some of this game right here. I know there's some great other SEC games on, but
Mhm.
if you get a chance, watch some of this game and watch Robinson. If you haven't seen him play, he is special.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Like I'm going to be tuned into this one for sure. Since Georgia's not conflicted with this, is typically a noon kick there. I think Fox's big noon kickoff is going to be there, so that'll be fun from the Texas State Fair. Get you a fried Oreo and watch Texas beat down on Oklahoma, which I think a lot. I have some Texas relatives. They're all Longhorns, so I know they're jazzed up for this game, and they're all jacked up about Sark. And Sarkisian's done a really, really, really good job there. Positively Ole Miss is going to watch the Ole Miss Arkansas game. That is surprising. Shocking. Yeah.
That's a pretty good game.
But
Pretty good 11 noon kickoff Eastern time, and
yeah,
my TV will be
that'll be a game
on Tennessee,
too.
South Carolina. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably figure out which one of those I want to watch. I mean, I think I think the game of the week is Vanderbilt, Florida, but that's just me. Just kidding. Mike Wright is from my hometown though, Fayetteville, Georgia. I think he went to Whitewater High School, maybe. Can't remember which high school he went to. I want to look that up. But he's from Fayetteville, Georgia. That's where I grew up. So shout out to whole Fayetteville. But Craig, that's going to do it for us. That's going to wrap up our show here. You can follow us on Twitch, follow us on Facebook, like, share. Also, YouTube. Hit that bell notification if you want to check us out and get all that new content. Maybe one of these days, with some donations, you can buy me some more AOL discs. Who knows? But all our social information is right there down below. We are the Beast of the East podcast. Like I said, you can find us on the Believe Podcast Network. Anywhere that you find your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, those type places. You can find us on the audio version, or you can watch us right here with a chat in between us. You can participate in the chat if you want to as well. We do not ignore the chat. Some shows do. We are not one of those shows. So you can join in on the chat. You can join in on the fun. But wherever you can find us, we thank you for listening, and we thank you for watching us, and of course spread the word. Like that's the way. I don't know about me, but the voice of the Rockets over here, I don't think they're paying them millions of dollars for promotional dollars to promote the show.
What are you talking about? I get in Marshall County, we get the NIL comes to us. So I've got several players on the team having too. So
well, I sit corrected.
County.
I sit corrected. So
yes.
Craig's got all the cheese, man. So he's going to promote the show. No, he's going to buy billboards. That's what he's going to do.
For sure.
He's going to put them on 65 all the way down to Bama country. It's going to have his face. It's going to have my pixelated face on there. It's going to be great. So tell your friends about it. Tell them to check us out. Tell them to join in on the chat. It's always a lot of fun. Guy, Cody was somebody on the chat. He kind of disappeared, but we have some key contributors, and our chat numbers are growing. Our episode numbers are growing, so keep up the good work. But tell your friend about it. Get one new friend to come and watch us, and then that friend will get a new friend. So I challenge you to tell the world, shout from the rooftops. We talk SEC East football. So if you're a South Carolina fan, this is the place for you. If you're a Tennessee fan, my man Craig over here, he's got you. And I got your back too until you play Georgia. Kentucky fans, we got you. Missouri fans, if you exist, we got you. Vandy fans, if you want to come out of the woodwork, or if you want to come out of hiding, this is the place to come. All right. Whoever you are, we got your back. Best of the West will get you if you're a Western fan. And, of course, we cover it all on SEC After Dark. That's the lineup. And, of course, I have a Georgia-specific show, Believe in Georgia Dogs, as well, that I host with Israel Troop. You can find me there, too. So, Georgia fans, that's an extra place for you to go to find me. You can't get enough of me, right? So, Craig, any last words?
Enjoy another, should be outstanding SEC football slate. More really, really good football games this coming weekend.
Absolutely. Well, we hope you have a Mark Stoops in Kentucky type week, an even better weekend. We hope you don't have an Urban Meyer type week. And we thank you for listening. We are the Beast of the East podcast on the Believe Podcast Network and Willis Digital Media, presented by betonline.ag. We thank you for listening. Hope you come back. Again, we are Beast of the East. We will see you next time. See you next week. So long. Goodbye. We're out.